February 12th, 1889. Cold enough to freeze spit before it hit the floor, but that ain't the cold I'm going to tell you about. The back room of Burke's saloon reeked of whiskey, sweat, and fear. Marge Hartwell's wrists were bound with frozen rope, ice crystals cutting deeper than hemp alone ever could. Her shirt torn at the shoulder, one hand trembling as she tried to cover herself. Beside her, Clem huddled small, her crutch broken on the floor, tears freezing on her cheeks before they could fall. Burke towered over them, cruel smile twisting his face. Sykes leaned against the wall, fingering his knife, grinning like a dog that's cornered something soft. "You or her," Burke growled. "Your choice." Marge's voice broke the air like glass shattering. "I took it off. Please, just let her go." Clem screamed, raw, desperate, a sound that cut through wooden walls and carried to the front room where an old rancher sat nursing tobacco and regret. In 3 minutes, Silas Colton would walk through that door and make a choice that'd either save 2 sisters or bury them alongside his daughter in frozen ground. By dawn, we'd either be free or 6 feet under Montana ice. Some nights I still hear that rope whistle through the wind. Burke's Crossing, Montana Territory, population 247 souls, give or take whoever froze that week. February had us buried under 3 feet of snow for going on 14 days. Ain't no marshal getting through Devil's Pass in that weather. Which meant Burke's word was law, and Burke's law was mean. I walked into town that afternoon for tobacco, nothing more. Kept my head down most days, had for 8 years since Beatrice died. The saloon was warm, Lise Burke kept his stove burning hot while the rest of town rationed firewood. That should have told us something right there. I sat in my corner, rolled my smoke, minded my business. Through the window I could see the general store across the street. That's when the Hartwell sisters came in. Marge entered first, her bad ear turned toward the wind so she wouldn't catch the cold straight on. Clem followed, leaning heavy on that handmade crutch, her clubfoot dragging some in the snow. They looked half froze already, shawls too thin for Montana winter. Gus, the storekeeper, shook his head before they even spoke. I could read lips well enough through that window. "Your pa's been dead 3 months, Gus said, loud enough I heard it from across the street. "Burke says you owe him $240. Marge's hands moved quick, explaining something. Working, paying, trying. "Burke don't count women's work," Gus said, looking uncomfortable. "Says you got one thing worth $240. The meaning hung there, ugly as a rope burn. Marge pulled Clem toward the door, her sister's face burning with shame. Few other folks in the store looked away, studied their boots, suddenly interested in flour sacks. My hand went to the tin cup on my belt, without thinking. Beatrice's cup, the one I carried everywhere but never drank from. My fingers traced the place I'd mended it, years back, after she'd dropped it running to show me a bird's nest. "Pa, I'll go to town for the doctor." Her voice in my head, clear as yesterday. "Storm's too fierce, girl. Ma needs help now." Found her body 3 days later, 20 yards from Doc's door. If she'd made it 10 more feet. I stood up, didn't plan it, didn't think, just stood, crossed it to the street, boots crunching in snow that hadn't been walked on since morning, pushed through the general store door, every head turned. I slapped a $5 gold piece on Gus's counter. Month's worth of supplies, that coin. "Put it on my account," I said. "These ladies are my guests." Marge stared at me. I'd seen her around town, knew her father Abel some, but we weren't friends. Her eyes asked a question she couldn't speak. Clem's eyes filled with tears. Gus hesitated, looking past me toward the saloon. Then he nodded, started pulling flour, salt, the medicine Clem needed for her foot. That's when I felt him. Oswin Sykes, Burke's man, standing from his table in the corner. Buffalo coat, scarred knuckles, smile like a knife. "Old man," he said, voice low. "You just stepped in something deep." I handed Marge the supplies, looked at Clem's crutch, ice-covered, slipping, steadied it for her. "Then I'll clean my boots later," I said. Sykes followed me outside. Snow swirling now, wind picking up. I kept walking toward my horse. "Those girls owe Burke," he called after me. "He always collects." I didn't turn around, just kept walking. Behind me, his voice cut through the wind. "You just bought yourself a war, old man." I climbed on my horse. The tin cup on my belt clinked against the saddle. For the first time in 8 years, I wondered if maybe Beatrice had been watching. If maybe she'd been waiting for me to remember I wasn't dead yet. Storm was coming. I could smell it on the wind. My place sat 3 miles out, far enough that most folks forgot I existed, which suited me fine. Hadn't had guests since Beatrice died. Hadn't wanted any. I got home near dusk, unsaddled the horse, fed him what hay I had left. Winter was eating through my stores faster than I liked. Inside, I lit the single kerosene lamp, unwrapped some bread and cheese, set it on the table where Beatrice used to sit. The tin cup went in the center, like always, empty. I was chewing bread when the knock came, urgent, desperate. Hand went to my rifle before I thought about it, crossed to the door, opened it slow. Marge and Clem stood there, shivering so hard their teeth clicked. Clem could barely stand, her foot swollen purple, crutch covered in ice. Marge's words came tumbling out, her deaf ear making her speak louder than she meant. Please. Burke sent Sykes. We have nowhere. My sister can't walk, please. I looked at them, looked back at my empty house. At that chair where Beatrice used to sit. Stay quiet and live. Get involved and lose everything, again. But Clem's lips were blue. Marge's hands were shaking so bad she couldn't grip her sister anymore. I stepped aside. Get in, before you freeze. Didn't ask questions yet. Just stoked the fire higher, cost be damned. Set out bread, cheese, dried venison. Poured water into my washing basin. Warm your hands, I said. Slow, or it'll hurt worse. Clem whimpered when the warmth hit her fingers. Marge guided her sister's hands, patient, like she'd done this before. I examined Clem's foot while the kettle heated. Learned some doctoring over the years. Had to, living out here. Wrapped it in flannel soaked with warm water and herbs. She cried silent tears the whole time. Gave Marge my late wife's old shawl, the good wool one. Better than that threadbare thing she was wearing. They ate like they hadn't seen food in days, then slowed, ashamed of their hunger. We'll work it off, Marge said, voice shaking. Laundry, mending, anything. I waved my hand. Eat, put it, rest, we'll talk morning. Marge explained it slow, her words careful. Their father Abel died of pneumonia 3 months back. Owed Burke $12 for supplies. She'd seen the original receipt, but Burke's ledger said $240. Interest, he called it. They'd tried paying through work, but Burke refused coin he couldn't pocket. Tonight he'd sent word. Payment due, one way or another. Sykes showed up at their cabin with rope. They ran. I looked at Clem's young face, Marge's fierce protectiveness, saw Beatrice in them both. You did right, I said, voice rough. Running was smart. But we can't run forever, Marge whispered. Not in this cold. Outside, my dog started barking. I went to the window. Nothing visible through the snow. But the dog didn't settle. Hour later, something slid under my door. A note. I read it, face darkening. Showed Marge. Return our property by dawn, or we'll come take it. Burke, Clem whimpered. I blew out the lamp, loaded my rifle in darkness. Root cellar, I whispered. Stay quiet no matter what you hear. Shadows moved past the window, multiple footsteps crunching snow, voices outside, muffled by wind, then Burke's voice cutting through clear, woo. Open up, Colton, we just want to talk. Torches appeared, orange flames reflected in frost-covered glass. 4, 5, maybe 6 men. I chambered around. The metallic click echoed in the dark. Clem grabbed Marge's hand. Marge looked at me, her eyes asking if we'd see morning. I didn't answer, couldn't promise what I didn't know. The torches moved closer. Burke's shadow fell across my door. I know you hear me, old man. Got till dawn. Then we come in. They didn't break my door that night. Burke was smarter than that. He waited for daylight, for witnesses, for the appearance of law. That's how evil works when it's got power. It makes itself look respectable. I woke to the sound of horses, many horses, looked out, 20 men, maybe more. Burke on horseback, Sykes beside him, Deputy Clyde Brennan at front, badge catching the sunrise. Behind them, half the town, drawn by spectacle. Torches still burning in daylight, showing off. I sent the sisters to the barn. Stay hidden, no matter what you hear. Checked my rifle, my pistol, put on my coat, stepped onto the porch, alone. Burke's voice came loud, jovial, performed for the crowd. Silas Colton, good morning to you. I didn't answer. Seems you got something belongs to me, Burke continued. Now, I'm a patient man, but law's law. Abel Hartwell died owing me $240. These girls are his estate. I aim to collect. Deputy Brennan unfurled a paper, official looking. Territorial Statute 14, Section 9, he read. Debts transfer to heirs. Since the heirs can't pay in coin, collateral seizure is legal. The words were clean. The meaning was filth. Mr. Burke has right to claim property equal to debt value. Brennan finished. I kept my voice low, steady. They ain't property, Brennan. They're human beings under my roof. While I'm breathing, nobody's taking them. Some folks in the crowd nodded. Mrs. Chen, the seamstress, stepped forward. Silas is right. This ain't lawful. It's sinful. Doc Abernathy. Burke, you know damn well. Burke cut him off. Doc, you gonna deliver babies or practice law? Burke dismounted, walked to my porch. Close enough I could smell the whiskey on him. Old man, you really want to die for 2 broken girls? His voice dropped, cruel. One can't hear proper, other can't walk proper. What good are they to you? I stepped down to meet him eye to eye. She ain't property, neither of 'em are, not while I'm breathing. My voice carried to everyone, and I've got enough breath left to make your collection real expensive. That's when Marge came out of the barn, against my orders, Clem following, limping without her crutch. The crowd gasped, didn't know they were there. Marge's voice shook, but didn't break. We ain't hiding no more. She faced Burke directly. You want us? You'll have to take us in front of everyone? Clem pulled something from her dress, a small leather journal, held it up for all to see. I kept records, Mr. Burke. Her voice was small but clear. Every girl, every debt, every time you said law when you meant rape. 7 years' worth. Burke's face went white, then red. He laughed, forced. That's just a girl's diary. Means nothing. To Brennan, seize it. Evidence of slander. Brennan stepped forward. I blocked his path. You'll have to go through me. Brennan's hand went to his pistol. 20 men behind him tensed. I didn't move. Otto, the barkeep, stepped from the crowd. Hold on now. Doc Abernathy. Clyde, don't do this. Mrs. Chen. There's witnesses here. Mind what you do. But others stayed silent, scared. Burke owned their debts too. Burke's voice went hard. Colton, you got till tomorrow sunrise. Return the girls and burn that book, or I'll burn your ranch with all 3 of you in it. He looked at the crowd. Anybody helps him? They burn too. Sykes stepped forward, torch in hand, threw it onto my barn roof. Hay caught immediately. Flames leaped in the cold air. I ran for water, but the barn was gone. Horses screaming inside. I saved them barely, but the structure collapsed. 30 years of tools, feed, memories. Gone. While I fought the fire, Brennan nailed paper to my porch post. Official seal, property seizure notice, 24 hours to comply. Burke's signature, Brennan's badge mark. Burke climbed back on his horse. Tomorrow sunrise, Colton, your choice. He rode away. Crowd dispersed, slow, shameful. Only Doc, Otto, Mrs. Chen remained. Marge touched my arm. I'm sorry, we should have stayed hidden. I watched the barn timbers collapse, flames eating everything. My face felt hot, but not from fire. Barn was going to burn anyway, I said. Now we know what we're facing. Clem clutched her journal tight. What do we do? I looked at the burning wood, at the 3 people still standing with me, at the sisters who'd just shown more courage than most men I'd known. We fight, I said, but smart. The wind shifted. Smoke blew toward town like a black finger pointing at Burke's saloon, accusing. Doc Abernathy treated the burns on my hands while Otto brought food from the saloon. Strange that. Otto worked for Burke, yet here he was, helping us, made me suspicious. Mrs. Chen offered her back room. Hide there tonight. I shook my head. Won't put you at risk. But I took the food. We needed it. Otto seemed nervous, distracted. Kept looking back toward the saloon like he was late for something, asked odd questions. You got family elsewhere? Someone who could take the girls? Why are you asking? I said. Just thinking about options. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Left quick after that. I watched him go, saw him glance back once, then disappear into Burke's place. He's telling Burke our plans. Has to be. We huddled in what was left of my house, barn gone, wind cutting through gaps in the walls. The stove kept us from freezing, barely. We could run, Clem said. Try for the next town. Doc shook his head. You wouldn't make it. Storm's coming again, and your foot. Then we give him the journal, Marge said. Buy time. That journal's your only weapon, I said. He gets it, he wins. Silence settled heavy. Outside, the day died fast. Winter nights come quick in Montana. My dog started barking again. I moved to the window. Torches approaching, but from the south, not town. Wrong direction. My heart sank. We were surrounded. Out the back, I said. Now. Head for the creek. Creek was frozen solid, but underneath was an ice cave. I played there as a boy, big enough to hide in. Marge grabbed the journal, nothing else. Clem left her crutch, couldn't manage it in deep snow. I took my rifle, lit a candle in the window. Make them think we were still inside. We ran. Snow came to our knees. Wind erased our tracks as fast as we made them. Clem struggled, couldn't put weight on her bad foot. I carried her when she faltered, rifle in one hand, girl in the other. Behind us, dogs baying. Burke had brought hounds. The creek wasn't far, but in snow like this, every step was a mile. My lungs burned. Marge pulled her sister when I couldn't carry her anymore. We were a chain of desperation, stumbling through white darkness. Found the ice cave entrance behind the frozen waterfall. I broke through the crust, shoved the sisters inside. "Stay quiet," I said. "Don't come out till I call." "Where are you going?" Marge's eyes were wide with fear. "To lead them away." I looked at her hard. "If I don't come back by dawn, follow the creek south, Widow Hawthorne's place. Tell her Silas sent you." "No." Clem reached for me, but I was already gone, doubling back, making obvious tracks west. Drew them away from the sisters, climbed the ridge, rifle ready. Below, torch-bearing men spreading out through the snow, dogs following my trail. Then, unexpected, a sound that didn't fit. Church bell, single bell, ringing a pattern. Not alarm, something else. Specific code. I recognized it. Old signal from my army days. Meant rally point, friendlies, movement in the darkness, someone approaching without a torch. I nearly shot him. Otto stepped into view, hands up. "Don't! I'm on your side!" "Those men down there?" He jerked his thumb toward the searchers. "I sent them wrong direction. Told Burke you headed north. He believed me." I kept the rifle aimed at his chest. "Why would you help? You work for Burke." Otto's face crumbled like old paper. "My daughter, Sarah, she was 16, his voice broke. Burke did to her what he's trying to do to these girls. She hung herself 7 years ago." He pulled out a ledger from inside his coat, thicker than Clem's journal. "Been documenting his crimes ever since," Otto said. "Every girl, every debt, every witness too scared to talk. And receipts. Burke's been forging debt papers for years. Abel Hartwell never owed him $240. Original debt was $12. I lowered the rifle. "Why now? Why help us?" "Because someone finally stood up," Otto said. "Someone strong enough to be a witness. I've been waiting 8 years for this moment. I sent word to the territorial judge 3 days ago, before the storm hit." His eyes held mine. Message said, "Murder in progress, Burke's Crossing. Judge knows me from the Army. If he got through the pass, he'll be here by tomorrow. And if he didn't, then we fight with what we got." We returned to the ice cave together. The sisters were huddled in darkness, holding each other, shaking from more than cold. "It's safe," I said. "For now." Clem pulled out her journal with trembling hands, opened it to pages I'd never seen, the back section, drawings, detailed sketches, every bruise, every mark, every victim's face rendered in careful pencil strokes. "I can't run fast," she whispered, so I learned to see everything and draw it. Page after page, a gallery of suffering, documented with artist's precision, names, dates, injuries, evidence that couldn't be denied. "Burke don't know about these," Clem said. "Just knew I wrote words. Never looked at the back." Otto studied the drawings, his breath catching when he found one. A girl with his eyes, his nose. "Sarah," he whispered, touching the page like it might break. Marge rubbed her wrists where the rope had cut. "What now?" Otto checked his pocket watch. "There's one place Burke won't look till last. Church basement. Father Michaels owes me a favor. His life, actually, but that's another story. Get there by midnight," he said. "I'll bring supplies, blankets, wait for the judge." We started moving, staying low, using the creek bed as cover. Behind us, dogs bayed closer. Otto stopped. "Go. I'll cover your trail." "Otto, go!" He ran the opposite direction, making noise, breaking branches, drawing the hunt away from us. Last I saw was his silhouette against distant torchlight, leading the hunters into the dark like some kind of ghost. We ran for the church. Father Michaels never asked questions, just opened the church door, pointed down, locked it behind us. Some men of God talk faith, some live it. The basement was small, cold, but safe. Single candle burning, blankets stored for poor families, preserved food in jars. First real safety in 2 days. I unwrapped Clem's foot. Swollen, purple, angry looking. Made a poultice from church herbs. My hands were gentle, practiced. Had to do this for Beatrice once, when she twisted her ankle chasing rabbits. What was her name? Marge asked softly. Your daughter? First time anyone had asked in 8 years. First time I could answer. Beatrice, age 16, froze to death trying to get help during a storm. I kept working on Clem's foot, not looking up. 20 yards from Doc's door, if she'd made it 10 more feet. Marge's hand covered mine, warm, real. I'm sorry, she said. We shared the preserved peaches, hard bread, cheese, ate slow, savoring every bite. I poured water into Beatrice's tin cup, the one I'd carried for 8 years but never used, passed it to Marge first. She drank, then handed it to Clem. When it came back to me, I stared at it, water trembling on the surface. You should drink from it now, Marge said quietly. My hand shook, but I lifted it, drank, first time since Beatrice died. The water tasted like forgiveness. Clem found children's chalk, Sunday school supplies. Started writing on the floor, why did you help us? I read it, thought a long time, wrote back, because someone should have helped my daughter. Clem's eyes filled. She wrote, what was she like? My throat closed. But I wrote, brave, kind, stubborn, like you two. We sat in silence after that, the kind of silence that heals instead of hurts. Clem showed us the back pages of her journal, drawings of good things too, flowers, birds, her father smiling at Sunday dinner. Not everything's ugly, she whispered. I looked at a drawing of an eagle in flight. You got real talent. Her face lit up, maybe the first compliment she'd had in months. I used to sell drawings at church picnics, before Pa died. For a moment, we weren't running, weren't hunted, just 3 people sharing stories by candlelight, then footsteps on the stairs. We tensed. Father Michaels appeared, carrying coffee and more blankets. Behind him, Otto, breathing hard, temple bleeding. They're getting close, Otto said. But I bought you time. Father Michaels sat with us, his face grave. He'd been thinking, he said. About Burke's claim, the debt law. Pulled out a thick book. Territorial Law Compendium, 1887 edition. I was a lawyer before I took the cloth, he explained. And I remembered something. He read aloud. Section 14.9, Addendum C, Frontier Necessity Doctrine. No debt collection may be enforced if said collection would result in death by exposure, starvation, or abandonment during extreme weather conditions. What's that mean in plain talk? I asked. Means Burke can't claim them in winter, Father Michaels said. Taking them from shelter during a blizzard equals a murder charge under territorial law. Hope flickered. Small, but real. There's more, the father continued. An older statute. If a guardian claims familial responsibility through witness declaration, essentially if you adopted them, Silas, their debts transfer to you, and a rancher with property can negotiate terms Burke would have to accept. Marge looked at me. You do that? Claim us as family? My voice came out rough. Already did. Moment I fed you at my table. Father Michaels opened the church register. Say it now, before God and me as witness. I stood. The words came easier than I expected. I, Silas Colton, claim guardianship of Marjorie and Clementine Hartwell. Their debts are mine. Their safety is mine. Their future is mine to protect. Father Michaels wrote it down. Date, time, signature, seal. It's not perfect protection, but it's something. Clem fell asleep against Marge's shoulder. Marge whispered to me, "Why are you really doing this?" Because I couldn't save Beatrice, I said. But maybe I can save you. Maybe that's enough. She'd be proud of you, Marge said. My eyes burned, tears I wouldn't let fall. Dawn was maybe an hour away when Father Michaels came back down, face white. Fire, he said, in town. We climbed to the tower, looked out, orange glow against gray sky, multiple buildings burning, my house, fully engulfed, Doc's office, smoke rising, Mrs. Chin's shop, flames visible even from here, Burke's retaliation, everyone who helped us, punished. I watched my home of 30 years burn, every memory of Beatrice, my wife's letters, Beatrice's baby drawings, 30 years of proof I'd existed. That's my home, I said, voice hollow. Was. Smoke rose like a black prayer into the dawn sky. Otto burst back into the church, blood streaming from a gash above his eye. "They know you're here." His voice cracked with urgency. "Brennan's coming with warrants. Burke's claiming you kidnapped the girls, burned down 3 businesses." He grabbed my arm. "He's got witnesses, people he owns. Says you threatened to burn the whole town if he didn't forgive the debt." Behind Otto, the sound grew louder. Horses, many of them, boots on church steps, heavy pounding on the door. "Open up." Deputy Brennan, with legal warrant. Father Michaels looked at me, then at his church door, his house of God about to be violated by men with badges and lies. "Don't fight here," he whispered. "Not in the sanctuary, please." I looked at my rifle, leaning against the wall, could make a stand, could fight. Marge saw my face. "No, if you fight, we all die." The pounding came again, harder. "Colton, we know you're in there." I set down the rifle, stood. My joints ached from the cold, from age, from carrying weight I wasn't sure I could bear anymore. "I'll go peaceful," I said. "But the girls stay here, church sanctuary." Father Michaels opened the door. Brennan stood there with 6 armed men. The warrant he held looked official. Proper seal, proper signatures, all lies dressed up in legal paper. "Silas Colton," Brennan read loud enough for the gathering crowd outside to hear. "You are under arrest for kidnapping, arson, assault, and theft of property, rightfully claimed by Elwood Burke." Every word, a fabrication. Every charge, a noose. "The girls stay here," I said again. "Under church protection." Brennan smirked. "They're witnesses. They come too." Marge stepped forward. "We'll testify. The truth, not Burke's lies." Clem clutched her journal. "I have proof." Brennan snatched it from her hands so fast she cried out, flipped through the pages, his face showing nothing, then tossed it to Sykes, who'd appeared in the doorway behind him. "Evidence of slander," Brennan said. "We'll burn it." "No!" Clem's scream echoed in the church. 7 years of work, 7 years of seeing, remembering, documenting, gone in an instant. She lunged for Sykes. He backhanded her casually, like swatting a fly. The sound of his hand hitting her face made something snap inside me. I moved without thinking. 3 deputies tackled me before I took 2 steps, drove me to the floor, stone cold against my cheek, knee in my back, air crushed from my lungs. "For a man who claims to be peaceful," Brennan said, standing over me, "you sure fight a lot." They hauled me up. Heavy iron shackles went on my wrists. The metal was cold enough to burn. Deliberately rough, the edges cut skin, drew blood. I felt it trickle down my hands, warm against the frozen iron. Father Michaels stepped between us and the door. "This is unlawful arrest. He has sanctuary." "Sanctuary don't cover federal crimes, Father." Brennan pushed past him. "Move, or I'll arrest you for obstruction." The old priest's face crumpled, but he moved. They dragged me out into the dawn. Main Street was lined with people. Burke had arranged an audience, the biggest crowd possible for my humiliation. The chains rattled with every step, announcing my shame. My clothes were still ash-stained from the barn fire, face bruised from where they'd driven me into the floor. I looked like exactly what Burke wanted. A criminal, dangerous, defeated. Behind me, Marge and Clem followed. No chains on them, but Sykes kept a hand on each sister's arm. Escorted, like they were fragile things that might break, but really, prisoners, hostages. Clem limped badly. They hadn't let her bring the crutch. Marge tried to support her sister, but Sykes kept jerking them apart. The walk through town was designed to break me. Burke understood shame better than most men understand mercy. Mrs. Chin stood in the ruins of her dress shop. Everything she'd built, ash and scorched timber. She saw me, started to speak. Sykes glared. She turned away, silent, but I saw tears on her face. Doc Abernathy's office was still smoking. He stood there, medical bags in the snow, watching us pass. Took a step toward me. "Doc," Brennan warned. "You want to join him?" Doc stopped, shame written clear on his face, but he didn't look away. At least he had the courage to witness. A small boy, maybe 8 years old, tugged his mother's skirt. "Ma, why's Mr. Colton in chains?" The mother shushed him hard, pulled him away. The child's confusion hurt worse than the shackles. He couldn't understand why nobody was helping, couldn't understand how good people could watch and do nothing. Burke emerged from his saloon like a king from a castle. Clean clothes, fresh shave, satisfied smile on his face. He addressed the crowd like a politician. "Folks, I regret this morning's unpleasantness, but law is law," his voice carried, reasonable and calm. "Mr. Colton overstepped. Kidnapping, arson, These are serious crimes. We're a civilized town. We handle things legal. Scattered applause from his employees. Most of the crowd stayed silent, uncomfortable. Some couldn't meet my eyes. I stopped walking despite the chains. Brennan yanked me forward. I planted my feet, chains singing. "Burke," my voice cut through the cold morning air. "Look at me," he turned, amused. "Something to say, old man?" "Every person here knows the truth." I looked at the crowd, at faces I'd known for 30 years. "My house burned while I was at church. You did this. You're doing all of it." I pointed with my chained hands at the townspeople. 30 years I lived here. Now you're all ghosts." Some in the crowd couldn't meet my eyes. Some started crying, but no one moved. Fear had them paralyzed. Burke's power was too complete, too thorough. Marge broke free from Sykes, ran toward me. Guards blocked her before she got close. "We chose this," she shouted. "We asked him for help. He's innocent. We'll testify." Clem limped forward, her voice breaking. "I had a journal, 7 years of proof. You burned it." I shook my head at them. "Stop. Don't beg these men," met Marge's eyes. "Keep your dignity. That's all we got left." To Clem, "Memory don't burn. Truth stays true." They dragged me toward the jail, the sisters reaching for me, sobbing, me being pulled away, chains rattling like bones. The jail cell was small, cold, no heat source, single window with bars covered in frost, straw pallet that smelled of rot and old fear, thin blanket that wouldn't keep a dog warm, candle stub nearly gone, rats in the corners watching with black eyes, iron door slammed shut. The sound echoed, final, absolute. They left the shackles on. Extra humiliation. My wrists were bleeding now, the iron cutting deeper with every movement. I sat on the pallet, head in my hands. My breath came out in white clouds. The cold was already seeping into my bones. Through the window, I watched them lead Marge and Clem toward Burke's saloon. Not arrested, just protective custody. Everyone knew what that meant. Hostages, leverage, bait. Marge looked back at the jail. Even from here, I could see her face. Not defeat, determination. That gave me something to hold on to. Hours passed. The candle burned lower. Rats got braver, creeping closer. I didn't have energy to chase them off. Otto's face appeared at the window after dark, careful not to be seen. He passed a flask through the bars. "Whiskey, for the cold." I drank. It burned going down, but it was warmth. "They took everything," Otto said quietly. "Your house, your reputation, your freedom. They took my memories, Fiesitied. That hurts worse. My wife's letters, Beatrice's drawings, proof that we existed." Otto was quiet for a moment. Then, "Honor ain't land, Silas. It's how you stand after you fall. You're still standing. That matters. Don't feel like I'm standing. You are. You just can't see it yet." He glanced around, making sure no one was watching. "Judge might still come. Otto's message might have gotten through. Hold on." He disappeared into the darkness. I watched my candle die, wax pooling, flame guttering, getting smaller and smaller, like my hope draining away. Darkness closed in from the corners, swallowing the light inch by inch. But the flame didn't go out completely. Kept burning, tiny but persistent. Stubborn little thing. I reached for Beatrice's tin cup, realized it was gone. Lost somewhere in the arrest, the struggle, the chaos. The one thing I'd carried every day for 8 years, gone. My voice came out broken, barely a whisper. "Beatrice, I tried." Outside, wind howled. Snow began falling again, heavy and thick. Storm returning, burying hope under white silence. Through the frosted window, I watched Brennan nail a notice to the jail door. Large letters I could read even from inside. Trial at dawn. Below that, a list of charges. Below that, the maximum penalty. Hanging. I lay on the straw pallet, pulled the thin blanket over me. It did nothing against the cold. The rats scratched in corners. My breath fogged in the air. Somewhere in town, in Burke's saloon, the sisters were waiting. Scared. Alone. Wondering if I'd abandoned them, if their courage had been for nothing. I closed my eyes. Tried to remember Beatrice's face. Found it was getting harder. 8 years had worn the edges soft. But her voice, that I could still hear. "Pa, you always said killing makes you less than human." "Pa, you said standing up matters even when you're scared." "Pa, you said family takes care of family." I'd taught her those things, believed them once. Now I'd get to find out if I still did. The candle finally died, darkness complete. I whispered into the black, "If you're watching, Beatrice, I could use some of that stubbornness you got from me. No answer came, just wind and cold and the sound of rats moving in the dark. Tomorrow at dawn, they'd come for me. Tonight, all I had was darkness and the memory of two sisters who'd trusted me enough to stand when standing meant everything. Had to be enough. Had to be. Burke's Saloon, not a courthouse. We didn't have one. But Burke owned the space, which in his mind made it legal enough. They dragged me in at dawn, still in chains. I hadn't slept. The cold had kept me awake all night, that and the rats and the sound of my own breathing echoing off stone walls. The saloon was packed. Every soul in Burke's Crossing must have been there. 200, maybe more. Tables pushed back to make space. Burke sat at what used to be the poker table, now dressed up as a judge's bench. Brennan stood beside him, playing prosecutor. No defense attorney. None available in winter, Burke said. Convenient. Kerosene lamps fought the dim morning light. Smoke hung thick, tobacco, coal, fear. The air tasted like injustice. They sat me in a wooden chair, center of the room. Every eye on me. Spotlight of shame. Marge and Clem were in the front row, forced to watch. Marge's face was more bruised than yesterday. Fresh marks. Clem's eyes were hollow. Empty. The journal was gone. 7 years of documentation burned to ash. Sykes stood behind them, not protecting, guarding. Brennan's voice cut through the murmurs. Silas Colton, you stand accused. He read from his paper, official and cold. 1. Kidnapping of Marjorie and Clementine Hartwell from their lawful residence. 2. Arson of commercial properties, Chen's dress shop, Abernathy Medical Office, and attempted arson of Burke's General Supply. 3. Assault on Deputy Oswin Sykes in performance of lawful duties. 4. Theft of property rightfully claimed under territorial debt statute by Elwood Burke. The crowd murmured. Some shifted uncomfortably. Most stayed silent. I tried to stand. Chains made it awkward. Those charges are lies. Burke slammed a gavel, just a hammer wrapped in leather, but it worked. You'll speak when spoken to, Mr. Colton. We'll hear testimony first. He wasn't even pretending to be impartial anymore. They forced me to sit. Brennan called his first witness. Jake Merrill. The storekeeper's son walked up, wouldn't look at me. Young man, maybe 25. I'd known him since he was in short pants. Tell the court what you witnessed, Brennan said. Jake's voice came out rehearsed. I saw Mr. Colton threaten my father. Said he'd burn down the store if Pa didn't give him free supplies for those girls. Lie. Complete fabrication. I paid, I said, standing despite the chains. $5 gold piece. Your father saw it. Burke's gavel again. Sit down, Mr. Colton. Can you prove this payment? I opened my mouth, closed it. Receipt had burned with my house. Jake's father could verify, but Gus owed Burke money too. Wouldn't contradict his son. Thought not, Burke said, satisfied. Jake left the stand, still not meeting my eyes. I saw shame on his face, but shame wasn't courage. Shame wouldn't save anyone. Next witness, Brennan called. Sarah Holloway. One of Burke's saloon girls. Young, maybe 22. Pretty in a tired way. I'd seen her around but never spoken to her. She took the stand, hands shaking. Kept glancing at Burke. Miss Holloway, Brennan said gently, like he cared. Tell us what the Hartwell sisters said to you. Sarah's voice was barely audible. They came to me at the saloon, begging for help, said Mr. Colton was holding them against their will, wouldn't let them leave his ranch. Another lie, scripted. I tried to help them, Sarah continued, voice breaking, but Mr. Colton threatened me too, said if I told anyone he'd... She stopped, covering her face. He'd what? Brennan prompted. He'd burn my room, with me in it. Gasps from the crowd. Some looked at me with disgust now, others with pity, all of it based on lies. Clem stood up, shouting, That's not true. We never spoke to her. We begged Mr. Colton to help us. Sykes clamped a hand over her mouth, forced her back down. Burke banged his gavel. Order. The witness will be silent or removed. Marge tried to stand. Sykes pushed her shoulder hard. She stayed seated, shaking with rage and helplessness. I caught her eye, shook my head slightly. Not yet. Not like this. Brennan dismissed Sarah. She scurried away, wouldn't look at anyone. Final witness, Brennan announced. Deputy Clyde Brennan. He took the stand, put his hand on a Bible. Father Michaels had provided it, looking sick at how it was being used. Burke leaned forward. Deputy, tell the court what you know of Silas Colton's character. Brennan opened his mouth, stopped. His hand on the Bible trembled. Deputy, Burke's voice had an edge now. Brennan's face was pale, sweating despite the cold. Mr. Burke, something was wrong. I saw it in his eyes, some kind of internal war. Burke's voice went hard. Just tell them about the threats, deputy. Brennan looked at the Bible under his hand, at the crowd, at me, at Clem, sitting there with her missing journal, her broken crutch, her swollen foot. I can't, he whispered. What? Burke stood up. I can't do this anymore. Brennan's voice got louder. He pulled his hand off the Bible like it burned him, stood up. I can't keep lying. The crowd stirred. Confused murmurs. Burke's face went dark. Sit down, Clyde. No. Brennan turned to face everyone. Silas Colton didn't burn those buildings. We did. Me and Sykes. Burke ordered it. The room erupted. Shouts, gasps, people standing. Burke tried to restore order with his gavel, but no one was listening. Deputy, you're fired. I don't care. Brennan's voice cracked. I don't care anymore. I've been protecting a monster for 3 years and I can't do it one more day. He looked at Burke, tears streaming down his face now. My daughter, Emma, she was 17. The crowd went quiet, listening. 3 years ago, she came to you. Brennan's voice shook. Said she was pregnant. Your child. You gave her money, sent her to Doc Abernathy, said he'd fix it. Doc's face in the crowd went white. She bled to death on Doc's table. Brennan's words came out strangled. Doc couldn't save her. Too much damage from whatever you made him do. He turned to Clem. When I saw your journal, saw Emma's name written there, saw what really happened. He collapsed to his knees, sobbing. I've been protecting the man who killed my daughter, and I did it because I was scared. Because he owned me. Because I was a coward. The courtroom was silent, except for Brennan's crying. Then Marge stood up. Sykes tried to stop her, but she shoved him off with surprising strength. Emma wasn't the only one, Marge said, her voice carrying. My sister documented 12 girls over 7 years, 12 families destroyed, and everyone in this town knew. Everyone looked away. That's slander, Burke shouted. The journal was destroyed. I remember every name, Clem said, standing beside her sister. Every date, every detail. You can burn paper, Mr. Burke. You can't burn memory. She started reciting. Sarah Friedman, age 16, October 1882. Emma Brennan, age 17, March 1886. Mary Chen, age 19, July 1884. Silence her, Burke yelled. But Clem kept going. The names poured out, 12 girls, 12 lives. Some in the crowd started crying, mothers who'd lost daughters, fathers who'd believed lies about them running away or moving east. Mrs. Chen stood up. Mary was my daughter. She didn't move to San Francisco. She's buried in the woods behind your saloon, isn't she? Burke's face twisted. This is a conspiracy. These women are hysterical. I have proof. Otto stepped forward from the back of the room. He held up 2 ledgers. Burke's official books and my records. Every debt he forged. Every payment he pocketed. Abel Hartwell never owed $240. Original debt was $12. I got the receipt. Burke pulled a pistol from inside his coat. Everyone sit down. The crowd froze. He pointed it at Otto first, then swung it toward me. This trial is over. I find Silas Colton guilty of all charges. You can't, Father Michaels started. I'm the law in this town. Burke's voice was ragged now, desperate. I still own your debts, all of you. Nothing's changed. Sykes drew his weapon too. 2 armed men against 200 unarmed people. Sentence is death by hanging, Burke announced. Tomorrow at dawn. Take him to the hanging tree. Guards grabbed me. I didn't fight. What was the point? Burke had the guns. Burke had the power. Burke always won. As they dragged me past Brennan, he looked up from the floor. I'm sorry, he whispered. God help me. I'm so sorry. Then help us now, I said. It's not too late. But they pulled me away before he could answer. Outside, I could see it. The hanging tree, old oak at the edge of town, rope already prepared, noose swaying in the wind. Moonlight made it glow white against the dark. One guard said to another, Tomorrow dawn, then. They threw me back in the cell. Didn't bother with the candle this time. Left me in complete darkness. Through the walls, I could hear the town. Arguments, crying. Brennan's confession had cracked something open. People were talking, questioning, waking up. But was it enough? Would they act or just feel bad while watching me hang? I lay on the straw, staring at nothing. Tomorrow at dawn, maybe 12 hours left. I thought about Beatrice, about Marge and Clem, about all the daughters Burke had destroyed while good men did nothing. If I die tomorrow, at least I stood. At least they'll remember one man tried. Outside, the rope creaked in the wind, waiting. Midnight. Maybe later. Hard to tell in the dark. I'd given up on sleep, just lay there, listening to rats and wind and the sound of my own heart beating, counting down the hours. Then, horses, different from before, disciplined, military cadence. I stood, moved to the window, couldn't see clearly through the frost, but I heard them. Multiple riders, moving with purpose. Church bells erupted. Full peal, not alarm, celebration. Father Michaels was ringing them himself. I could picture him pulling that rope with everything he had. The signal meant one thing. The judge arrived. Voices outside my cell, keys rattling, the door swung open. Territorial Judge Harrison Blackwell stood there. Age 67, white beard, face like weathered leather, 6 federal marshals behind him, real law enforcement, not Brennan's twisted version. "Mr. Colton," the judge said, "I'm told there's been a miscarriage of justice in my territory." He didn't wait for my answer, turned to the marshal. "Remove those chains." The shackles came off. My wrists were raw, bleeding, but free. I'd forgotten what that felt like. "Come with me," Judge Blackwell said. "We're reconvening this trial, properly." We walked to Burke's saloon. The whole town was there again, roused from sleep. Burke sat at his table, Sykes beside him. Both looked pale when the judge entered. Judge Blackwell didn't sit, stood at the center of the room, badge visible on his chest. "This court is now under territorial jurisdiction," he announced. "Everything that happened here today is void. We start from the beginning." Burke stood up. "Judge, I don't know what these people told you, but—" "Sit down, Mr. Burke." The judge's voice could have cut steel. "You'll speak when I ask you to speak." Burke sat. Otto came forward, carrying his ledgers. The judge examined them at the bar, lamplight showing every detail. The crowd pressed close, watching. "Mr. Burke's official ledger shows Abel Hartwell owed $240, the judge said. He held it up, then set it aside. "Mr. Friedman's records show the original debt was $12, for supplies purchased in March." He held up Otto's ledger. "Same transaction, different numbers." He looked at both books carefully. "The handwriting is different. The ink color is wrong. The dates don't match territorial filing records." His voice went cold. "This is fraud, a federal crime." Burke's face twitched. "Those records are forgeries." "Are they?" The judge pulled out a magnifying glass. "Because this seal on your arrest warrant is also forged. Real territorial seal has the eagle facing right. Yours faces left." He tossed the warrant on the table. "Whoever made this didn't even study the real thing first." "Sloppy work, Mr. Burke." Brennan stood from where he'd been sitting. "Burke had them made in Denver. Paid $50. I was there." "Deputy Brennan," the judge said, "you're admitting to conspiracy?" "Yes, sir." Brennan's voice was steady now. "I helped him. I'm guilty, but I'm done lying." The judge nodded. "We'll address your crimes later. Right now I want to see this journal everyone's been talking about." "It was burned," Clem said quietly. Sykes threw it in the fire. Mrs. Chen stepped forward, pulled something from inside her coat, the journal, slightly singed at the edges but intact. "I pulled it out before it caught," she said, and hid it. "Figured the truth was worth saving." Clem's gasp echoed through the room. 7 years of work, not lost after all. The judge took it carefully, opened it, started reading entries aloud. "March 15th, 1884. Witnessed Burke force Mary Chen into back room. She cried for 2 hours. Marks on her arms visible next day. October 3rd, 1886. Emma Brennan came to saloon. Burke gave her a bottle, said it would fix her problem. She died 3 days later. Doc said too much damage inside. January 8th, 1889. Burke told Pa his debt was now $240. I saw the original receipt. It said 12. Page after page. Names, dates, details that couldn't be invented. Drawings in the back, bruises, injuries, faces rendered with painful accuracy. The judge's face was stone. When he finished, he closed the journal carefully. "Mr. Burke," he said, "you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, extortion, assault, rape, and accessory to murder." He gestured to his marshals. "Take him into custody." Burke tried to run. The marshals grabbed him before he made it 3 steps. They chained him, the same shackles I'd worn. "This is illegal," Burke screamed. "I own this town. I have rights." "You had rights," the judge said. "You lost them when you decided to own people instead of serving them." He turned to me. "Mr. Colton, all charges against you are dismissed. You acted in defense of vulnerable persons under Frontier Protection Doctrine. Your property rights are restored." He removed the chains from my wrists himself. "Mr. Burke will pay restitution for your burned home." To Brennan, "Deputy, you participated in arson and false arrest, but you broke under oath and spoke truth when it mattered. I'm sentencing you to community service. Rebuild what you burned, and live with what you learned." Brennan nodded, weeping. "Thank you, sir." The crowd erupted, cheering, crying, shouting, 3 years of fear breaking like a dam. Marge and Clem ran to me. We held each other, all of us shaking. They were safe. Really, truly safe. "How did you get here?" I asked the judge. "The pass." Otto's message said lives were at stake. Judge Blackwell's eyes were hard. "I lost one horse to the cold, but we made it. Some things matter more than safety." Otto stood nearby, tears streaming. The judge embraced him. "You did good, soldier. Real good. Your daughter will have justice now. Official record." Otto collapsed in relief. 8 years of waiting, finally over. As marshals led Burke away in chains, he snarled at me. "You think this is over? I got friends in Helena. Money. I'll be back." Sykes melted into the crowd. "Not charged, just an employee," Burke's lawyer would say. But I saw him slip out the back door. Judge Blackwell saw it too, said nothing. Some battles for another day. "We walk out together," the judge said to me and the sisters. "Eyes open. This town needs to see that justice won." We stepped into the dawn, free. Morning came clean and cold. First clear sky in weeks. The town gathered outside Burke's saloon, watching marshals load Burke into a prison wagon. People who'd been silent for years suddenly found their voices, some cheering, some crying, some just standing there, stunned that tyranny could actually end. Silas, Marge, and Clem stood together on the saloon steps. I held Beatrice's tin cup. Otto had found it in the street, returned it to me. Marge wore a proper coat Mrs. Chen had given her. Clem had a new crutch Doc made overnight, beautiful carved wood with an eagle design. We looked like family. Judge Blackwell addressed the crowd. "Burke's properties are seized. Federal government holds them pending trial. The saloon will be sold. Proceeds go to victims and their families. His coal supply will be distributed equally. No one goes cold this winter." Applause. Real this time, not forced. "You're free of him," the judge finished. That's when the shot rang out. Sykes on the saloon roof, rifle aimed at me. First bullet missed. He was too eager. Angle was bad. Crowd scattered, screaming. Marshals drew weapons but couldn't get a clear shot through the chaos. Second shot fired. Marge pushed me aside. The bullet hit her shoulder instead of my chest. She fell, blood on the snow. "Marge!" Clem screamed, dropping beside her sister. Time slowed. I saw the marshal's rifle leaning against the wagon. Could grab it, could shoot Sykes, clean shot available. Justified. Everything in me wanted to. I reached for the rifle. My hand closed around the stock. Finger found the trigger. Sykes reloaded, laughing. "Should have killed you when I had the chance, old man." My hand was on the gun. One squeeze. Justice delivered. Beatrice's killer's accomplice, dead. But Beatrice's voice in my head. "Pa, you always said killing makes you less than human." I stopped, lowered the rifle, stood up, hands visible and empty. "No!" I shouted at Sykes. "I won't do it." "You want to shoot me? Do it, but I won't become you." "Justice don't need blood, just witnesses." Sykes aimed at my unarmed chest. His finger tightened on the trigger. Then Otto threw a rope, lassoed Sykes's rifle. Doc Abernathy climbed the ladder from the other side. Mrs. Chen grabbed Sykes's legs from below. The town acted together. Not one person violent, but the collective overwhelming evil through sheer numbers. Sykes went down, swearing and spitting. Marshals dragged him off the roof, arrested him. "Attempted murder," Judge Blackwell said. "You'll hang with Burke." I dropped to my knees beside Marge. Doc was already there, examining her shoulder. "Bullet went through clean," Doc said. "You'll heal." Marge looked up at me, wincing. "Silas, you didn't kill him." "Couldn't," I said, holding her hand. "Beatrice wouldn't forgive me, and I need to be able to look at you girls without blood on my hands." Clem gripped my other hand. "Thank you for not killing him. We've seen enough death." Her voice broke. "You showed us something better. You showed us mercy stronger than rage." The prison wagon rolled out. Burke and Sykes chained inside, headed for Helena and trial and likely execution. But not by my hand, not by mob justice. By law, witnessed, documented, clean conscience preserved. I filled Beatrice's tin cup with snow, melted it over Doc's lamp, offered water to Marge first. She drank. I drank after. The cup had come full circle, from death to life, from grief to healing. Beatrice would have liked you both, I whispered. The rope that had bound Marge's wrists, Otto kept it. Now they used it to tie Burke and Sykes in the wagon. Just as circular, poetic. Father Michaels led a prayer for the daughters lost. Sarah Friedman, Emma Brennan, Mary Chen, the others. 12 names spoken aloud, honored publicly. Otto wept. Sarah, baby girl, you got justice. Judge Blackwell announced Burke's iron stove would go to the sisters. Payment for what was taken. Symbolic. Warmth redistributed from oppressor to oppressed. Townspeople approached us one by one. Mrs. Johansson. I'm sorry we didn't help sooner. Jake Merrill. I lied because I was scared. Forgive me. To each I said the same thing. Fear don't make you evil, just human. I took both sisters' hands. I got land. House is ash, but foundation's solid. We can rebuild, together, if you'll have a stubborn old man for family. Marge nodded through tears. We already decided your family. That night, you fed us, gave us warmth. That's when you became our pa. Clem opened her journal to a page she'd drawn last night. 3 figures standing before a cabin. Caption in careful script. The family that chose each other. I broke down. First full tears since Beatrice died. 8 years of grief finally released. The sun rose higher, hit icicles hanging from the saloon, created prisms, rainbow light across snow. Even frozen water makes beauty when light hits right, Father Michaels said. Storm cleared, wind died, first thaw beginning, life returning. Behind us, town already rebuilding. Doc and Brennan working on burned buildings. Mrs. Chen opening temporary shop. Otto distributing coal. Children playing, safe now. I looked at the sisters beside me. My daughters now, chosen not born. If it were you, I said, looking at nobody and everybody, would you have forgiven? Would you choose mercy when vengeance was justified? Pause, wind sound. Then a smile, small, hard one. I'm glad I know what I chose, and I can sleep now. Spring came early that year, like the land itself wanted to heal fast. By March, my cabin was standing again, bigger this time. Had to be. I had family now. Burke's iron stove sits in the center of our main room, fire burning bright and warm. Marge cooks breakfast there most mornings. Clem sits nearby, journal open, sketching. Not just documenting pain anymore. Drawing beauty, too. Eagles, wildflowers, her sister's smile. That crutch Doc made leans by the door, eagle carving visible. Clem walks better now, but she keeps it. Part of who I am, she says. Not ashamed anymore. Beatrice's tin cup sits on our kitchen table, holding wildflowers. First blooms of spring, my daughter's honored, but life's continuing. The cup that held nothing but grief for 8 years now holds something living. Every morning we sit together, 3 chairs, 3 plates, Marge teaching me sign language for her deaf ear. My hands are clumsy, but I'm trying. She's patient. Outside our window, garden plot marked out, chickens in the new coop, my horse grazing peaceful, mountains in the distance, snow melting, world coming alive again. I learned something that winter. Dignity ain't what others give you, it's what you refuse to surrender. Marge, speaking truth despite her fear, that's dignity. Clem, documenting evil when she could have stayed silent, that's dignity. Me, choosing not to pull that trigger, that's dignity too. Family is who you choose, not just who you're born to. Blood made Beatrice mine, but choice made Marge and Clem mine. And choice, that's stronger. That's iron that don't break. Maybe justice ain't loud. Maybe it's quiet in the way a man keeps his eyes clean in the mirror, in the way he stands between evil and innocence without asking for thanks, in the way he forgives when vengeance would feel better. That's the justice that lasts. Winter reveals who we really are. When it's cold and dark and you're alone, that's when you find out if you're going to hoard warmth or share it. I chose to share. Nearly cost me everything, but it gave me more than I lost. Now, if this story touched you, if you felt that rope bite, that cold sting, that moment when standing matters more than surviving, then I ask you, tell me where you're listening from. What corner of this big world did this tale reach? And if you got someone in your life who stood for you when standing was costly, thank them. Don't wait. Words matter when they're spoken, not just felt. Till next time, friends, May your dignity carry you through the storms. May your family be chosen strong. And may you always, always stand when standing's what's right, even when, especially when, it costs you everything.